Hi everyone, welcome to today's presentation, Navigating the Human Side of Organizational Change. We're so happy you all could join us today. And as we're getting everybody on and getting started, can you please write in the chat where you're from so we have an idea of who's with us today? And we'll be back with you very shortly. Thank you. The interesting thing, some people just have first names.
Yeah. And some of our attendees were with us this morning.
Nice. Welcome, Anne-Marie from Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. That's a place that I would love to visit.
Great. Anne-Marie, let us know how you found out about today. We're very curious about how everyone showed up. She's asking if there's a way to talk. We'd have to unmute, and we're maybe toward the end.
Yeah, we'll get you talking as we go through.
Yeah.
Great. I'm Marcy from Florida. Great. Welcome, Richard.
I see a few of our members are here today. Hi, Dina.
Hi, John. Through Justine, Natasha.
We have two Natashas.
Oh, and Donna.
She might be by phone. Yeah, we're not really taking attendance, but we're just curious who's showing up.
Yeah. It's always fun to see where everybody is from, too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I saw Anne-Marie's response. So you were on the Power of TED call with Donna. It was great. Oh, were you the one who won the class? I'm trying to remember now. Yes. Excellent. Yeah, I did her training. It was really good. Well, I'm glad you've gotten on our mailing list and you're tapping into our programming. You know, while everybody's still dribbling in, I'll just say hi really quick, and then I'm going to sort of disappear off the screen here. I'm Monica Leggett. I'm the president of ICF Connecticut, and I'm really thrilled to be welcoming everybody in here. And I'm going to be passing it over to our host, Sharon Jacobson, who's been one of the outstanding volunteers for the chapter, stepping up to help out with ICF International Coaching Week. So thankful for you, Sharon. And to all of our speakers, including Lori, who is taking their time and energy to present to the community. We have a lot of people from all over. So anyway, I'm going to disappear and take it away, Sharon.
Hi everyone, welcome today. My name is Sharon Jacobson, and I'm thrilled to be hosting Navigating the Human Side of Organizational Change. The Connecticut chapter of the International Coaching Federation is excited to offer today's terrific workshop as part of the Raise the Bar webinar, 5 Themes, 5 Days of Learning. It's a free series of webinars that brings together individual professional coaches representing a wide variety of coaching specialization as part of International Coaching Week. During International Coaching Week, members worldwide celebrate the power of professional coaching to positively impact individuals, organizations, communities, and the world. These webinars will run from today, May 4th, through Friday, May 8th, and a full schedule of offerings can be found on our website, ICF-CT.org. We hope you can join us for more this week. I'd like to take us through a few housekeeping rules. I know that many of you are newer to Zoom than others, so if you can go down to your toolbar. But before we start, I also want to let you know that you'll be able to see and hear myself and Lori Candela, who's your presenter today, but we are not going to be able to see or hear you. We're going to work within the toolbar to show you how you can participate in today's workshop. So I'm going to start with participants. If you click on the participants icon at the bottom, you'll see there is an area down below there to raise a hand. It's a little blue hand. Today's workshop will be very, very participatory, so hopefully you'll be able to be taken off of mute throughout and ask a question. The Q&A is the next icon you'll see, and if you click on the Q&A, that'll be a place where you can type your questions in throughout the workshop today. So anytime throughout, you can go ahead and put a question there. The next icon is polls, and I'm going to launch 2 polls today. The only thing you'll need to do is answer the question and push submit, and then it will show a percentage of how you all are answering the poll today. So I see that Jonathan is saying he cannot see polls icon. Don't worry, we're going to launch it. So you'll see the poll come up and you can take it from there. The last piece on the icon bar that I want to talk about is the chat. And the chat, many of you have already started using today by sharing where you're from and different conversations that are going back and forth. I do want to ask you, there'll be parts during the workshop where Lori will ask you to use the chat, and the chat will go to Lori and myself as panelists, as well as the attendees. Okay, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Lori Candela, who's our presenter today. Lori works with leaders, teams, and individuals to help them successfully navigate the human side of organizational change. She founded Training and Performance Solutions, LLC, in 1990 and has designed and delivered customized learning solutions in a variety of industries. She has trained and coached leaders, teams, and individuals to approach new beginnings and successfully achieve their goals. Lori holds a Master's of Education degree from the Pennsylvania State University in Curriculum and Instructional Design, Training Design and Development, and a BA from Alvernia College in Business Management and Administration. She earned her designation as a Certified Professional Coach through the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching, ICF. She is a board member for the ICF Connecticut chapter and holds the position of Programs Co-Chairperson. Without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Lori.
Thank you, Sharon. I am so pleased to be here with all of you today and this kickoff of International Coaching Week, and really a privilege to be able to share with you some ideas on how to navigate organizational change, particularly the human side. So welcome to everyone. I see folks all across the country and beyond, and I thank you for being here. So as Sharon mentioned, and Monica, International Coaching Week is this week, and there are some great opportunities, and we'll provide the link just in case you need that again at the end of our presentation today. So as Sharon mentioned today, navigating the human side of organizational change is our topic. And really the goal is to help increase some knowledge and awareness on how to navigate what we refer to as the human side of change, especially during these unprecedented and tumultuous times. When I first put together this presentation, it was before we had a worldwide pandemic. So you can imagine that organizational change is something we all think about all the time, but with the added changes the pandemic has brought about, even more critical today. So as she mentioned, we're going to take a poll, and the first poll, really like to check in with you on what is your new reality. So given COVID-19, many things are different, and what's really changed for you? So Sharon's going to launch a poll and ask you to just take a minute to tell us what your new reality is. For some people, I know it's working from home, and that can be a real challenge for people who are used to working in an office environment or other setting to be able to transition over to the idea of working from home. A lot of work-life balance issues. I know I've talked with people who are in the middle of trying to work from home, have children that they're trying to get through online courses, and have spouses who are also working from home and trying to deal with internet bandwidth. Talked with other people who are on the exact opposite end, people who are working from home and their work-life balance is a little different because they may be the only person at home and it gets a little lonely. So there's more time to even work more, which can cause or lead to some burnout. And of course, new technology. I don't know about you, but I've been to a lot of Zoom meetings lately. And of course, the new phrases out there are we're zoomed out, Zoom exhaustion. So that kind of technology in itself is a change, but also new technologies that if you are now working from home, you might be having to learn in order to do your work at home. And of course, other. So it looks like we have quite a bit of answered here. Let's get another, oh, Sharon's got our poll results up. So it looks like work-life balance is a real big issue for most of us today. But also new technology and other are two other areas that are really challenging, and also can appreciate the work from home. So what I'd like to ask is the other component. We've got 31%, and I'd love to hear from you. What are some of the other things that are presenting a challenge, and what's changed in your world given COVID-19?
So Lori, I'm seeing that someone says they had to cancel some in-person offerings, so it affected the income.
Absolutely, yes. I can relate to that. Had some, and I see Celeste the same, had a lot of in-person sessions that had to end and be postponed. Something new technologies, creating online workshops, yeah. What are some of those other things that are changing? When we think about even not only the idea of, I'm not able to do my work from home, so I'm not working, yes. Trying to figure out what to do next. I understand, Megan, I have a few people that I've been talking with that are, trying to start new businesses during this time, even though that might sound a little odd. Shopping methods have definitely changed. Can't go walk at the mall anymore and try things on. And leadership of large teams for many different personalities. Absolutely, Patty. Some are ready for this and some are, willing and able, and others are like, just give me back what I knew. And many
it also says isolation from friends and church. Zoom
yes.
Not the same, plus reaching out to others who are afraid and isolated.
Absolutely. And all of those things impact us in different ways. Having to make decisions with little knowledge about how it will be. Yeah, all that uncertainty, all a big part of change. So thank you for adding your thoughts and input. Something for us to really think about. If it's affecting us, it's affecting our clients, our teams, our leaders. So when we think about organizational change outside of our pandemic, we know there are some positives around that. And some of those positives, it helps us to solve problems, helps us to be more competitive, and also can help us to really bring about innovation and growth. With the positives come some challenges, like change can be disruptive, as we were just talking about. It can create a fear of the unknown. Someone mentioned, you know, we don't know what's coming next. And it can cause frustration and stress. Someone mentioned grocery shopping. I know a lot of people, I'm surprised there aren't more cart injuries lately with people trying to go up the wrong aisle and not wearing masks and being attentive to that. But we also know in organizational change, when there's maybe a new software system being implemented or a new restructuring in your organization, new leadership coming in, new policies, procedures, really rethinking product lines, all of those things can have positives to them, but they can also cause the same kind of challenges we're feeling today. They can be disruptive and really create that fear of unknown. This is what I've always been used to. Now I've got to do something new and different, and I don't know if I can do that. I don't know how to do that. So being cognizant of that is real key in really looking at the human side. In many of the planned organizational changes, I know that I've been a part of, there are all different kinds of change management models that are used, but basically they all contain some form of strategic planning, where someone has an idea for something and a plan comes about as to how that's going to be put into action. There's the project management component, where we know we have to form a project team perhaps and really create, you know, project plans and work lists and determine who's going to be doing what. Sometimes there's even a change management plan where we're thinking about, you know, okay, so we've got this big change coming about. We know there's a project team working on it. What else do we need to do? How are we going to implement that? What do people need to know and do differently? What kind of training might we have? There may also be a marketing and communication component, where now that we know what's changing, how do we communicate that both internally as well as externally to our customers? So most often on most change projects, you'll see some form of this. However, one piece that's often missing is the transition management component. And that's the piece that we're talking about today. It's how do we really manage not just the elements of the strategic plan and the project plan, but how do we manage the transition? William Bridges is kind of the founding father of the transition development model. And he talks about change and the difference between change and transition. And a lot of times those words are used interchangeably, but they're quite different. Change is situational, as he tells us. It's something that occurs. It's a situation. Whereas transition, on the other hand, is really psychological. It's not those events, but rather the inner reorientation or self-redefinition that you have to go through in order to incorporate any of those changes in your life. And without a transition, a change is just kind of, I like the way he says, a rearrangement of the furniture. And unless transition happens, the change won't work. I think of something as simple as, on a personal note, like moving. So when we move to a new location, it could be a real positive, exciting thing, something maybe we've planned for. It's a situation. One day I'm living in one environment, the next day I move to another. So one ends, one begins. But the transition is really that psychological process, or the thoughts we go through, like, wow, I live in this new neighborhood. Where am I going to go shopping? Where is my new doctor going to be? Where is my new pharmacy? So all of those things that we begin to think about and have to reorient. Same thing with organizational change. Wow, I have this new computer system I have to work on. Okay, so that's coming on this day. The one I'm used to is leaving on this day. but how in the world am I going to learn it? How am I going to do it? Am I going to be any good at it? How is it going to impact my customers? So lots of things to think about. The model of transition that he presents us with is a three-phase model. William Bridges talks about the endings and the new beginnings. And in the middle is the neutral zone. So as I mentioned earlier, there could be something that ends, we no longer have it, and we want to move to that new beginning. We now have something different. But what we often forget about is this neutral zone, or this in limbo zone, this feeling of being not quite there yet, not quite to the new beginning, and having to really process all of this before we can accept it. What I've often found on the change projects that I've worked on in corporations is that there is a project team who is well aware of why the changes are being made, what changes are happening, when they'll happen, who's responsible for them, and they know what that ending will look like. They also know what that new beginning will look like, and often have time to go through that neutral zone and process all of that in order to accept the new beginning and become that change champion. What sometimes happens is that while the project team is up here at the beginning of the project, understanding all of that, the realization that the people who are actually implementing the change may not have had that same time to process can be a challenge and can really impact their acceptance of the change and their ability to be productive and effective in the new beginning. There was a study done by the International Coaching Federation, or ICF, that shows that companies who really focus on the human side as well as the technical side of change are the ones who have a high rate of adoption and productivity. So let's take another look at, do you have a plan? Let's take another look at a poll, and Sharon's going to bring that up for us. And I'd like you to think about this statement. In my organization, we have a change management and a transition management plan in place for any type of organizational change. So a change management and a transition management plan. So either yes, both, no, neither. Change management plan only. We don't focus on transition, or we haven't in the past. And the bottom one, I don't know. I don't know what we have. Haven't really been a part of it.
Lori, there's a question in the chat. Can we say my family is an organization?
I'm sorry, Sharon, I'm not hearing you. I hear there's a question. Can you repeat it for me?
Yes. Can you refer to your family as an organization?
Absolutely, and that's a great question. So when I talk about leaders, when I talk about organizations, when I talk about teams, absolutely think about all the roles you play as a leader. Where are you? Whether you have leader in your title or not, where are you a leader? Is it family? Is it an organization you belong to? Who is your team? Who do you have a plan to help through these changes and transitions? Okay, we'll take another 30 seconds to answer. All right. Let's see what we have. Yeah. So interesting. Change management plan only, or nope, neither one of them. So we haven't really thought through maybe some of the things that we can do to really impact how effective that change and the transition can be. So I'm so glad to see those responses there, because hopefully what you'll find in these next few minutes that we have together is that you'll find some things that you can use to take away with you to begin thinking about how you might formulate that plan. First thought that comes to mind when you see this wave, and this little icon here is letting you know, let's talk in the chat box. What are your first thoughts? Oops, I'm sorry. Let me go back. Stormy, brace yourself, power, nature. The wave is overwhelming, batten up the hatches. Uh-oh, yeah. You know, and really, it depends on sunshine and surfing. Thanks, Natasha. I was just going to say it depends on our experience. A surfer might see that wave and say, woohoo, now I've got it. I can do it. How exciting. And someone else might say, get out of the water, right? I remember when I was first learning how to sail many years ago in Florida, any ripple in the water looked like that wave to me, the slightest ripple. And the reason was because I didn't have the knowledge, the tools, or the skills, or even the awareness yet, because I was a new learner. So being able to conquer that wave and really adjust my sails to make it through it or around it or whatever I needed to do, I had not a clue. But the instructor and friends of mine that were really experienced sailors knew exactly what they needed to do and saw it quite differently than I did. So when we think about, you know, what does that change look like? Is it an opportunity to surf, or is it an opportunity to get out of the water and run the other way? That's exactly what we might be thinking about when we know we have a change. I don't know if any of you have been on a flight lately. Hopefully not lately, but the last time I was on one in January, the, oh my goodness, I was going to call her a stewardess, the flight attendant stood up and did the whole, you know, put on your oxygen mask first. And they tell us to do that because even if you're with a small child, you can't help that person or anyone sitting next to you, of course, without putting on your own oxygen mask first. So once again, I would ask in the chat box, what are some of the things that you as a leader would say that you're doing right now for yourself to put on your own oxygen masks? What are some of the things that you're doing? Let's hear it in the chat box. Attending this seminar, going for walks and webinars like this. Yeah, paintings, being a role model. Cul-de-sac cocktails, ooh. More exercise than usual, improving skills. Yeah, I'm so glad to hear all of these things. Self-care time, setting boundaries, absolutely. Asking the right questions, taking care of myself, learning new things, becoming more technology aware, making sure family's safe. Cooking up fun, yes. I've been cooking too and walking more to make up for all that cooking. So these are really good things that you're doing and knowing to be able to, yeah, social times. Ooh, coaching versus rescuing, awesome. Important things to be doing to put our own oxygen mask on first, because if we're coming to the table depleted of energy, then we're not going to be much good as a leader. So glad to hear all those great ideas. One more time, I'll ask you to think about in managing your own transition. You're doing some things to take really good care of yourself. However, what are concerns that you have? What concerns you the most? And how does this affect your attitude? And how does it affect your energy? So again, if you'd like to put something in the chat, that would be great. If anybody would like to be heard with your voice as opposed to your words in the chat, feel free to raise your hand and tell us, what are some of the things that are most concerning to you?
We do not have any hands raised at this time.
Okay, all right. I'm thinking that these are some questions for reflection. So I would encourage you to really think about what those thoughts might be, what concerns, how it affects your attitude and your energy. Being prepared to be qualified, yeah, as a career coach. What's the new normal going to look like? Absolutely. What are the best ways to reach clients, new offerings? Yeah. So it's going from that old to the new, and what do I do about it? How am I going to manage it? Great. Impact on younger people. And Megan says, what does the office space look like when we return? What are the safety measures? Yeah. How will my strengths impact me in the reverse? All this unknown, and really thinking about and stepping back and thinking about, you know, what really are my concerns and what impact does that have on who I am and who I want to be and how I want to show up? How does it affect my energy? One of the things we know for sure is we can't control change, right? We know it's going to happen in any given day. But one of the things we can control is how we react to it. So we've got some interesting reactions here to change, and perhaps you've seen some of these faces before in sharing messages of change with those that you surround yourself with. One of the things that we talk about, and one of the things that I'm certified in is energy leadership. And this is a concept that Bruce D. Schneider came up with. And one of the things we talk about is the kinds of energy that we bring. He talks about anabolic energy, and that's the kind of energy where we're feeling really constructive and creative, and we're bringing all this, you know, good energy out into the world. There's also the opposite, and that's what we call catabolic energy. And that's the kind of energy that is more destructive or draining to us. So as you think about those questions that I asked on the earlier slide, you know, where do you feel you are with your energy? That's the kind of thing that I'm talking about here. Is it more energy that's creative and constructive when we're excited, or more draining and destructive? There are different influencers on energy that are out there, and something for us to think about. So one of them is spiritual, and I don't necessarily mean faith practice, but what I'm talking about here is our connection to our purpose and who we are and what we're energized by. So how is that impacting us today, and how is that influencing our energy? Someone mentioned earlier about not being able to, a couple of people mentioned about not being able to be in person and do live training courses. And for me, one of my purposes is really to help people, you know, to improve their knowledge and their skills and their awareness around a lot of different techniques and information. And when I'm in a live classroom, the energy level for me is a whole lot different. While I'm energized in a webinar, seeing you face to face would really be in my area of influence. So that's where a lot of energy is. What are our emotional feelings around all that's going on, and how is that influencing our energy? What's the impact on what we're feeling? What are we thinking? The mental influencers, where are our thoughts leading us? You know, are we having some thoughts that might be, you know, this is horrible, I'll never make money, I'll never train again, or are thoughts more on an anabolic level, more creative? Physical influencers. How am I feeling physically today? I heard a lot of people mention, you know, getting out and walking or exercising. And what impact does that have on our energy level when we don't? I have to remind myself every hour to get up and move around and stretch so that my body feels okay sitting for the time that it needs to sit. Environmental influencers. What's going on around us? You know, even when we are in a workplace, if you're still working in an office setting, what is the environment like? There were concerns about, you know, what will it be like? Will I be safe? Will it be really respectful? Or it might be environmental influencers at home. If you're sharing a computer or sharing a space, how is that impacting your energy? And finally, social. I know that right now in our current situation, social influencers are so key. How is that impacting your energy? Are we making changes to the way we socialize? And what impact does that have overall? What I'm sharing on this screen is our energetic self-perception chart. And I mentioned the Energy Leadership Index, and it's a tool that really helps people to begin taking a look at, how do I perceive my own energy and where am I? And there's a lot in this diagram here today that I just want to touch on the very surface of it with you to give you something to think about. In the center, you'll see the core feeling and emotion category. And to the left, the core thoughts that go along with each core feeling or emotion. And on the right, the action or result that it produces. So let's talk about an example. If I am at level 1 energy and I'm really feeling stuck with my own thoughts and my own self, one of the core thoughts is victim thinking. This always happens to me. Why is this so bad? I can't see my friends. I'm just throwing out different thoughts or thinking that comes around with this level 1 apathy feeling. And the action or result is lethargy. To give you a kind of a personal example, I was feeling that in the beginning. I came home, I became a new empty nester. My husband went off to work and I'm sitting there going, I'm all by myself. I feel so lonely. I don't feel like doing anything. This is terrible. So a lot of apathy. The next level is going into anger, where there's conflict in our core thoughts and some defiance in the action or result. So to take that same example to the next level, well, I'm really angry about being here all by myself. And why did this all have to change right now? And why can't I see anyone? And I don't want to do anything in my defiance mode. Some of that might sound familiar to you too when you're thinking about organizational change and perhaps indicating to your team, we're putting in this new system and, you're going to have to learn it. Think about what that victim thinking and the apathy and the lethargy might sound like, or the anger that comes along with it. As we move up to level 3, there's a level of kind of forgiveness, and we start to move away from ourselves and start thinking more about others. There's a forgiveness where our core thoughts are around responsibility and need to really cooperate in order to move forward. Level 4 is where we begin with really compassion as a core feeling. And we have concern, and we're worried about, or our action or result is providing service. Level 5 talks about peace. It's a place where I always strive to get to, level 5, where there's reconciliation of my thoughts and really the acceptance that goes along with that, and knowing that there's peace in what we are experiencing. The next level is joy, level 6, and that's where we're really getting further away from ourselves and really focused on others. There's a synthesis of our thoughts, and we're really focused on sharing our wisdom or actions. Level 7 is really that highest level that we all tend to want to strive for, and that's where there's absolute passion. There is no judgment. We're feeling that high level of anabolic energy. We're creative. Think about the moment where you're doing what you love doing. You're being who you want to be, and that's that highest level, that absolute passion. Do we fall in each one of these categories? Am I a 1? You're a 6? Absolutely not. What we talk about is we experience all levels of energy, but it's a choice as to where we want to be. So, and not only where we want to be, but how long we want to be there. So while I might want to dwell in the anger about a situation, I can choose to move on through forgiveness or compassion or peace. So just something for you to think about, and think about, where is my energy level? Where am I feeling today? Am I feeling apathetic? Can I move into a different level? Can I go in and out throughout the day? Absolutely. Some things to think about in terms of where your energy is and the energy you bring. Again, you might have seen some of these faces and responses to change. Think about, you know, the people you're working with or the people you're living with, and where was their energy when, you know, they may have heard the news, and all the different emotions we go through as we experience change. And how can we be responsive to these individuals as well? So coaching others through transition. So as a leader,
Sorry.
yes.
Before we go on, there were 2 points that I thought you might want to hear before we move on.
Would love to, thank you.
And one was, somebody commented, it reminds them of emotional set point work with your energy leadership model. And then there was a question. The question was, can you share who created the energy leadership model?
Absolutely. Bruce D. Schneider has done a lot of work with this model. He created it and created the tool, and I'll go back, created the tool that you see here that is the representation of the outcome of the tool that we use in order to, the Energy Leadership Index, to measure our own self-perception. So if you look at the bottom of the slide, you'll see Bruce D. Schneider. He's also the founder and head of IPEC, the coaching school. Okay.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. So I'll ask you to think about what can you do, or are you doing as a leader, to coach others through this transition process? So again, think of it, whether it's someone at work, on your team, a coworker, or wherever you're a leader, at home, in your family, and love to hear from you in terms of, oops, what are the things that you are doing to help coach others? So again, feel free to put those in the chat, or if you'd like to raise your hand and tell us, we'd love to hear it. Watching for what phase people might be in. Yeah. Talking it through, listening, absolutely.
No hands raised at this time.
Thanks. I knew somebody else was coming through. Creating a structure. Listen, be patient, be empathetic, help others express how they are impacted. Absolutely. The issue of unemployment and helping them in transition, helping them to think about all of those things that they're going through and what are they feeling about that. Being able to really listen to people, encourage that dialogue. Yes, absolutely. Getting them talking in a positive way, expressing their feelings, expressing their concerns. Yeah. Allowing that opportunity for them to do that. Some of you have heard me probably more than enough talk about my daughter had to postpone her wedding that was supposed to happen just a couple of weeks ago. And so many people were saying to her, oh, well, that's okay. At least it's still happening. And, you know, it's no big deal. Or you guys could just get married online. And they were giving all kinds of solutions. But she wasn't really getting a lot of that. Let me listen. Let me acknowledge. Let me hear what you're feeling, what you're going through. Let me allow that space for you to feel, and then begin to think about what's happening next. How can I create a plan? What can I do to support you? Key things that we can do when we're coaching others. She did get a new date, and she's very happy about that. But it took really a lot of patience and listening to help move her along. Navigating the human side of change. So what we know is that high-performing organizations are more likely to include the following as part of their change management initiatives: training and development activities for all employees, and coaching-related activities tailored to the needs of individuals, teams, or work groups. And this came out of a study that was done by the International Coaching Federation, as well as the Human Capital Institute, on building a coaching culture for change management. So knowing that we can provide those tools and those opportunities is really key for success. Coaching can really be a valuable asset during these times of change and transition. They can help us to build our change and transition management capabilities and really help develop the potential of others. It helps them to change behaviors when we're looking for new behaviors in this environment, really learn new skills that can help drive business success, and really helping to explore and overcome that resistance to change that so many of us face. And focus on the importance of communication during change. Really key to communicate what we know, what we don't know, and to be transparent. And it can also help to promote and build resilience. Everyone experiences all of these emotions and these opportunities differently and at different times. We're all individuals, and we've all had different experiences with change. So resilience is really something to think about. How resilient are we? How resilient are those that we're leading? And really begin to think about how we can coach them toward that. So how can a coach help you? So I was thinking about this, and I thought during coaching week, I should be able to come up with something that would help you to really take this away and remember how we can be helpful. So I came up with, bear with me on my acronym, C, a coach can create a safe space. What do I mean by that? We want to make sure that the clients we work with feel comfortable, feel able to share anything that is on their mind, that they feel they need to share, that they need to work through. We can open the dialogue, really begin talking about things that perhaps haven't been talked about or that need to be talked about a little bit more. And acknowledge issues and concerns. As we were saying, acknowledging and allowing and empathizing can really go a long way. But not only do we listen and do we create that space and have a dialogue, but we also help to focus in on what's next. Okay, now that we've got this, what next steps can we take? And then finally, once those are identified, help you to move forward. So thinking about not only yourself as a coach, but how can a coach help you or help your team as well is important. So with that, I open it up to any questions that you might have or comments that you'd like to make, something you'd like to share with the rest of us that you've benefited from or that you've found helpful. I'm seeing some things in the chat. Any questions? Encourage dialogue. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely, Megan. Could you share an experience you have had with a client and what you've learned? Absolutely. So I can give you two. I can talk about one where everything seemed to be in place. And that was a project where I was working with a large insurance company. and they were implementing many changes at one time in one particular part of the organization. They were going, and this is kind of going back a bit, but they were going from teams in their environment to self-directed work teams. And they've also been looking at how to increase knowledge, product knowledge, as well as using a new system. There were a lot of different changes in place. So really stepping back and allowing for conversations, for team meetings to take place about what was happening, to be able to acknowledge and to be able to share, concerns, to be able to step back and look at what went wrong and correct it as they could, really provided for an environment that over an 18-month period ended up implementing all of the changes, and everyone was on board and very effective with that. There are other examples where, I've worked with clients who have not acknowledged, who have not even considered the transition process, but have stopped at the point of, we've got our project, we've got our deadline, we've got our drop dead date, so to speak, and now it's our go live and we're ready to go. And then the people that have to implement it are kind of at a point where they're saying, wait a minute, what's this all about? Why do we have to do this? How is it going to impact me? How is it going to impact, the work that I'm doing? What will change for me? Will I still have a job? All of those concerns still floating around had an impact on how effective they were as they got to the implementation, but eventually got through it. So what I've learned is that the more open, the more transparent we can be with what we know, what we don't know, how it's going to impact, and really allow for the opportunity for the dialogue is really key. So I hope that answers your question.
Lori, there's a question in the question and answer box.
Yes.
Are there any big trends you're expecting to see in terms of change due to the virus?
There are so many answers to that question. We know for sure that the work environment is going to change when we get back to the new normal, whatever that is. We know that for a while, it's going to look very different. People are going to respond very differently. We may still see people working at home, and how is that going to be incorporated into that new environment? The way we think about work from home may change in organizations. New products, new ways of going about things, all trends that we're looking at and seeing how that's going to be impacted.
There are some questions in the chat.
Okay.
Anne-Marie Finn is asking, where can we find more information on that ICF study that was quoted?
That is a great question. And it's in the, if you just, I don't know that we have it on our website. It may be on the global website. And it is let me take you back. The ICF-HCI study on building a coaching culture for change management. Coach Federation, thanks Monica, coachfederation.org.
Organizational change is constant. What percentage of employers are hiring coaches to help their employees?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know that I have the answer for you today because things are changing so much. What I can tell you is that what we have found is that the percentage that are hiring the coaches are seeing a greater impact. I don't know, Monica, I know you're still on the call. I don't know if you have any thoughts or have any, yep, again, referring to that site and the research.
Another question, have you received inquiries from company types or industries that you have not gotten in the past because of the current situation?
Great question. What I'm finding is I'm still finding a lot of inquiries from similar industries that are still moving ahead with a lot of projects around systems implementations. That's not stopping. So 2 different industries, 3 different industries that I'm hearing from in particular, but really still the same type of project moving ahead with systems implementations.
And Daniela asked, what change framework have you used that has been most successful?
One of the, and it's not so much the change framework as the transition. So change frameworks, there are so many different ones. I really appreciate the ADKAR model by ProSci, but I also focus in on the transition model that William Bridges developed, as well as focusing in on the Energy Leadership Index as part of the coaching process and tools that I use with clients to really help move them through transition. Great questions. Thank you. What other ones do we have?
That is all at the moment.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And I want to just get back to where we were and leave you with a thought in this whole environment of change, whether with regard to organizational change or the current changes we're experiencing, or both. Maya Angelou has one of my favorite quotes, and it's, "People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." So during this time of change, I'd encourage you to really think about how you're showing up and who you want to be and how you want to be remembered as a leader, leading people through this time that we're in. So if you'd like to learn more about anything that I've talked with you about today, or if you'd like to obtain a free resource on my website, Navigating the Human Side of Organizational Change, I'd encourage you to visit me there, or feel free to reach out to me at my email if you have any questions or would like to talk about any of the concepts. I would love to hear from you. And one more thing, next steps. Look for additional free ICW 2020 webinars and other events on our ICF-CT.org website. And I should make sure I say it correctly, www.icf-ct.org. And also I'd ask that you check your inbox for our post-webinar survey tomorrow, because we'd really love your feedback. It's important to us to know that we're meeting your needs. So again, thank you. And I appreciate your taking the time to join us today. There will be a recording of the webinar on the ICF-CT website if you'd like to refer back to it or share it with anyone else. And I wish you all well, stay safe, and stay healthy.
Lori, I think Monica would like to say a few words. Monica?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you so much for presenting today, and actually go back to your email address, because I wanted to ask you a quick question.
Yes.
You talked about organizational change. Do you actually coach individuals, or do you only coach organizations? Because people may want to deal with their own transition.
Yeah. So thanks, Monica. That's a great question. So organizations are made up of individuals, is what I like to say. And I do work with organizations in terms of leaders, teams, and individuals there. However, I also have a background in individual transition and love to work with individuals as well.
Great. And I think the recording will get sent to them directly within
the great
day or two by the virtual assistant. So
perfect. Thank you.
You'll be hearing from us. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you, Lori, for sharing your workshop with us today.
Thanks, Sharon.
And as Lori mentioned, don't forget to visit us for another workshop sometime this week. Everyone stay safe and have a great week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bye.